the biggest mistake that most of the Mandarin learners make is that they think if they can memorize as many of the Chinese words, then they can speak fluent Chinese. If you think that way as well, then I'm telling you that will only get you so far. So why is that? In today's video, I'm gonna explain that to you. So before I explain all that to you, I want you to look at one of the short video. That's one of the American actor in a show that trying to speak Mandarin. So I want you to see what's that like and what do you feel about it. So let's take a look.
Speak Mandarin?
Yeah, correct.
In your spare time? But you were so busy.
No, I got a tutor, we talk, and
Really?
Yeah.
Mandarin's tough.
Yes, it is. So we'll try something. Here we go.
Really?
你好，我是 John Cena。他是我的朋友 Jimmy Fallon。Jimmy Fallon 工作是主持人的在电视节目名字 The Tonight Show。请在将来，你跟你的父母一起看到我的新的电影，名字 Ferdinand。Ferdinand 开始 December 15th。你不看到我，但是你可以看到 Jimmy Fallon。
That's right! That's what you do!
Okay, so what do you think of the video? I think most of you will have this feeling like, wow, he is so amazing. Like he speaks such a long sentence, which I would never do that. It's like, exactly like the host's reaction. But I'm telling you from a native speaker point of view, what I think of his Mandarin. First of all, I would like to say if he's like a beginner to learn Mandarin, then yes, he's doing a very good job to memorizing those Chinese words and put it all into a sentence. But in terms of speaking, like for example, let people to understand what he's talking, I don't think he's doing a very good job. So if to be brutal honest, if I don't have subtitle on that video, if I just watch it for the very, very first time, I literally had trouble understand him from the third sentence that he's saying. I would literally lost what he's trying to say. I probably get an idea he was talking about his movie because I can catch some words, but just really, really hard. So in my previous video, I have mentioned the key factor about having a conversation is to let people understand you. So that including your pronunciation. You're gonna pronounce really well. Well, I'm not saying perfect, but you need to make sure the listener will understand what you're saying. So for this actor, I wouldn't say he is that good, but he wouldn't be that bad. So I would say there's room for him to improve his pronunciation and his tone. So I will give him like 7 out of 10 for the start. The second part of let people understand is actually your grammar and sentence pattern. So in this part, this actor didn't do a very good job. Some of you might think, okay, Jeannie, you are being way too strict. This is way too hard. He's doing really good. But I want you to know, when you're learning Mandarin, what's your goal? Your goal is trying to talk and have conversation with Chinese people. Is that correct? So, as a native speaker, if I have trouble understanding him, then do you think he's doing a good job? And also, another reason why I'm trying to be, well, not being difficult, but what I'm trying to say is if you only put your standard here, and your result's going to be here. If you want to have a good result, your standard's going to be there. So your result could potentially just to reach here. Okay, so let's get back to today's topic. So earlier what I'm saying, learning Mandarin or learning any of the language is not about just memorizing the words. So the real key here is to understand how people naturally structure their sentence and also the cultural behind it. Okay, it sounds really hard to understand what I'm saying, but I'll give you some example, then you will understand. For example, I am Chinese and I'm learning English. So if I go to greet someone, would it be weird if I say to someone, have you eaten a meal yet? You will feel, this is so weird and I have no idea. You might answer, understand, but you're like, what? Do you know what I mean? because I just direct translate the way we think, the way we structure the sentence into English. However, in English, you don't really greet people if they have their meal or not as a greeting, but we do as Chinese. So that's exactly the same thing happened in the video that we just watched. For me, it looks like he just direct translate all the English into Chinese word and then just combine it together into a sentence. So for you guys, if you don't really learn Mandarin that well, you will just like, wow, this is so good. But for me, native speaker, was like, what? So if you understand that now, let's go back to look at the video again, and I will tell you as a Chinese what I would say those sentences in Chinese.
你好，我是 John Cena.
So first of all, he trying to introduce himself. So if you direct translate English to Chinese, is in Chinese is 是. So he say 我是 John. Okay, so here is really weird already because in Chinese, if you want to introduce yourself, especially about name, you don't say 我是, you say 我叫 plus a name. If you say 我是, you usually follow by a job. And second of all, which I would suggest if you're going to learn Mandarin, then you should have a Mandarin name. Would that be weird if I say to you in English, my name is 周小丽? Will you understand me? You're probably like, what? So same thing here. So for Chinese people, the correct way to say is 我叫约翰. Then people will understand you.
他是我的朋友 Jimmy Fallon.
That sentence he say, 他是我的朋友 Jimmy Fallon. That one there's no problem, but I would recommend you're gonna translate the English name into Chinese, easier for the Chinese people to understand.
Jimmy Fallon 工作是主持人的在电视节目名字 The Tonight Show.
Now comes the funny part. So the next sentence he said is Jimmy Fallon is the host of a show called The Tonight Show. So he basically direct translate everything into Chinese, which I will say grammar totally wrong. He kind of combined two sentences together. First sentence is Jimmy's job is a host. And the second sentence is like he is the host of a show, which is called The Tonight Show. He put two sentences together, which is okay in English, but not the way that Chinese people do. So the correct way, say separate sentence. So you can say, first of all, Jimmy 的工作是主持人. So that's the first sentence. His job is a host. Easy to understand. Second one, then he can explain what's that show's about. So the second sentence, you should say, okay, the show is called Tonight's Show. Then you say in Chinese is 这个节目的名字叫今晚的表演. So you basically separate them into two simple sentences. Very, very easy to understand. So that's a mistake he made. So if I'm going to say it even naturally in Chinese, I would say 这是我的朋友吉米，他的工作是主持人，他主持的节目叫做今晚表演. So that sounds a lot more natural in Chinese.
请再将来你跟你的父母一起看到我的新的电影，名字 Ferdinand.
Next sentence he said, basically next week you and your parent come to watch my new movie and the name is. So first of all, it's a pronunciation problem. When he say 请大家来, I literally seriously I have no idea what he said until I see the subtitle. So that's really important for all of the Mandarin beginner. You need to slow down, right? I prefer you to slow down, say each of the words with the right tone and the right pronunciation so people will understand you, right? Otherwise, you said a whole bunch of sentences, feels amazing, but we all shocked and that will destroy your confidence. Okay, so in here, again, direct translate into Chinese. That's not how we're going to say it. So in a sentence, I think he say 请, which is please, right? Please come to my movie. Again, English. In Chinese, we do say 请, but not in this circumstance. We basically say, okay, welcome to come to the movie. So we use the word 欢迎 欢迎, so welcome, like come to my show, like that. So the whole sentence in Chinese, I would say 欢迎你和你的父母来看我的新电影. Again, I will separate that sentence into two very simple sentences. Welcome, like come to my show, come to my new movie, and the second sentence is the movie's name is. Okay, so the second sentence I will say 电影的名字是, well, obviously I don't know what's the name, but that's how you should say that in Chinese.
Ferdinand Kaiser, December 15th. 你不看到我，但是你可以看到 Jimmy Fallon.
That's right. That's what you.
Okay, the next sentence I think he would like to say is his movie started on December 15th. Okay, again, direct translate into Chinese. A lot of the grammar wrong. First of all, in Chinese, we don't put the time at the end of a sentence, which I know in English that's the right order. But if you learn a little bit Mandarin Chinese grammar, you should know the time we usually put it at the beginning. Okay, and also I know in English you can just say my movie starts, right? Start, if you translate in Chinese, is 开始. But however, if you look at the way the Chinese people say when they're talking about movie, right, a new movie release, we usually use this word 上映. 上映. So if I want to say my new movie starts on December 15th, then in Chinese, I will say it like this. 电影在12月15号上映. So in the last sentence, he say, 你不看到我，你可以看到 Jimmy Fallon. So in Chinese, if I hear his Chinese, basically it means, you don't see me, you seeing Jimmy Fallon. And it just, I have no idea what's that to do with the movie. So that got me thinking. So maybe he said in this movie, even though if you don't want to see me, you can see Jimmy Fallon. Or maybe in the day that movie release, you can go to see Jimmy Fallon, not seeing this guy. So I actually really confused what he's trying to say. Okay, what I want to say is not judging about his Mandarin is so terrible. My point is learning a language, right? Learning Mandarin, learning Chinese is not just about memorizing words. Literally all the example that I'm showing you, you should have an idea, right? Actually, you should learn about how Chinese people structure the sentence, how we're gonna say those sentences. You're gonna learn the words that we use rather than direct translate from English to Chinese. And also I wanted to say, at least this guy has all the courage to put all the words together. So I really admire him that for a lot of students, they literally have trouble to form a sentence. And the reason is because they're only learning words and they literally don't know how they should form the sentence properly. So that's why in my program, Mandarin Accelerator for Beginner, I'm not only teaching you to memorize the words, I'm literally teaching you how to say the sentence like a native speaker. Okay, let's summarize today what you have learned. First of all, learning Mandarin is not about just memorizing words. If you're trying to have conversation with Chinese people, then you should remember this. Your goal is to make sure your listener can understand you. Then which means you need to have a very clear pronunciation and tone so that people will not misunderstand you. Second of all, don't just direct translate English into Chinese. Try to learn how the native speaker form the sentence and also understand the culture behind the language. Copy the way they're saying rather than create an English way of saying into Chinese. That's all for today's video and I will see you next time. Bye!